The Oscars just happened, and that was interesting. I've never really liked the Oscars, and I have many reasons why, mostly because I disagree with how they treat foreign films and animation, but still, I may have been a bit too harsh on this celebration of this art form that means so much to me. Never mind. Here are my top 10 films of 2025, post-Oscars. This is a sequel to my first video titled 2025 in Film. Still don't know what I'm going to call this, maybe 2025 in Film 2. But the two videos are separate with no coordination or continuity, much like Godzilla vs Mechagodzilla 2. I won't go a single video without mentioning Godzilla. I mean, I'll most likely be repeating a lot of stuff I said in my previous video. You don't need to watch my previous videos. Back then I haven't actually seen many films of 2025, but now I have watched many more and found some great films actually from the Oscars. Maybe it wasn't so bad after all. No, never mind. So here is my top 10 films of 2025, at least right now. It could always change as I watch more films. Number 10. This won Best Picture, so I had high hopes. It's pretty good, but I found the editing to be a little weird and it threw me off a lot and confused me a lot. It's a real shame, even after 98 years, that the Oscars count foreign films separately to English-speaking films. Foreign nor animation should count as a genre. In 2025, I started my year in Poland and I watched the Polish dub of the new Bridget Jones' Diary, which with English subtitles, and then watched it again in English. But that was February, so it was a slow start to the year. Watched this in the cinema, packed full of horny 50-year-old women, the way the filmmakers intended. Glad to see Hugh Grant still being an absolute slut 24 years later. And because of some of the delightful reviews for this film, I think it was one of the most hyped films of this year, maybe being beaten by that one big name later down in this list. In my country at least, we love Bridget Jones. I would say the book is good, though I'm sorry if you're watching this, I haven't touched the book that I borrowed off you yet. Sorry. Over here in the UK, everyone, I hope, loves Bridget Jones. The first film is a masterclass of comedy and filmmaking, the sequel is controversial, yet charming. The third film is nice and sentimental, and I felt the fourth film was the same. Again, nice and sentimental. Do you address the elephant in the room? Yeah, they killed off Mr. Darcy. So wait, actually no, that makes this some crap. Anyway, let's move on. Wow, a horror film that the Oscars actually cared about? That's how you can tell it's going to be a groundbreaking film. I found this film quite cute. I really like listening to all the theories on this film because it's very vague at times, which I love. The Oscars also cared about the substance, which made me really happy. And even though the substance is way more of my thing personally, I thought Weapons was pretty neat. 7. HAMNET. Also very neat. I watched this when I was very sick. The most anticipated film of the year for me, and it definitely didn't disappoint. I feel like I'm rating it a bit too low, but I can understand some criticism I have of the film. I enjoyed this film more than his last one, Decision to Leave, but I think Decision to Leave was produced better and was way more compelling and original. To address the elephant in the room. No Other Choice feels heavily inspired by Bong Joon-ho's Parasite, and it feels a bit like a competing film because both Park Chan-wook and Bong Joon-ho are both incredibly beloved popular Korean directors who make very similar stylistic films. Although I favour Park Chan-wook a bit more, I do think this film could have been a bit more original in its messaging because of how many powerful films Park Chan-wook has made in the past. With The French Dispatch and Asteroid City, and maybe even The Wonderful World of Henry Sugar, I felt like Anderson's style became a bit of a parody of himself, if that makes any sense. But I felt this film so refreshing and new. It felt like Anderson was just embracing how bizarre his style actually is, instead of trying to make his style come out more than what it actually is, if that too makes any sense. Also, Michael Cera was just a highlight of this film. I saw a little bit of me when I saw him betray an autistic little weirdo who's obsessed with bugs. I love how he was kind of a Ringo Starr of the group, how he was just kind of in the background doing his own thing, like looking at a dung beetle, talking to himself. So cute, I love him. And Richard Ayoade, another standout, felt like just a more mature version of Moss from the IT crowd, and I adore that. I came here to drink milk and kick ass, and I've just finished my milk. Finally, added colour to superhero films. James Gunn's Superman was a perfect superhero film. This film felt incredibly refreshing from the dull, gritty, taken too seriously superhero films since people started making DC comic adaptations. It feels most of them are just taking the characters and plots and just spitting on the comics. The Lego Batman movie is one of the only good DC films I can think of that feels like a true love letter to DC. I've not watched an awful lot of it, but I've heard purely negative things from every DC film that comes out. And as much as I do love Nolan's Dark Knight, not Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, those suck. I think they are far too gritty for a comic book adaptation about an orphan who dresses up like a bat and fights crime. Same for the Batman. They're missing some of the comical elements of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman that actually feels like a true adaptation, even though I'm not a fan of Tim Burton. DC really hasn't had the best time cinematically. It's not like Marvel, where it's owned by Disney and they're just driving it into the ground in their own way. DC sadly lacks identity right now, and I really hope James Gunn is the person to turn that around. This film is an amazing start to what I hope is a cinematic universe. With Supergirl being announced, I have very high hopes. I want a James Gunn Batman so bad. Marvel have never and could never make such a beautiful, stunning, emotionally driven film like this one. Compare this wonderful film to their artificial, force-feeling, ugly slump they have always produced. This is possibly the most well-shot superhero film I have ever seen. I think it's absolutely stunning, and with its set design and wonderful, well-done practical effects. Also, to address another elephant in the room, as Marvel, because Disney just loves to compete with every studio ever. Because right after Superman, a Fantastic Four film came out. Fantastic Four: First Steps, which is the first Fantastic Four film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And to be honest, when I first watched this, I was celebrating the fact that Marvel made a pretty decent film. Honestly, I think it's the best I have seen from that studio, generally. But yeah, it felt so like it was competing with James Gunn's Superman, which is just so much more superior. You can't compete with James Gunn's Superman. You just can't. This film had a few quite Marvel-y cliche stuff, but they weren't distracting enough, and sometimes the constant background music was a bit much at times, not letting some scenes to breathe. But I don't have an awful lot of negative things to say about this film. The cast was fantastic. Pedro Pascal is slowly healing Marvel. The absolute worst thing that came from this film is that it convinced me to watch the next shitty Avengers film, which honestly I wrote that review ages ago. I might not even watch Doomsday, I can't lie. Doomsday feels so boring. How long is it going to be? How long will Avengers Doomsday be? Oh my god, you're actually you're taking the piss. 3. BUGONIA. It hurts a little to put this over Superman, but oh my god. I wasn't a fan of Lanthimos's film 2 films ago, Poor Things. I haven't seen Kind of Kindness, so I'm going based on Poor Things. So I had quite low expectations for this film going into it, sadly. A lot of people don't know this, but this is a remake of this cute South Korean sci-fi film from 2003 called Save the Green Planet. But even though this film is based on such a weird and quite honestly insane film, Lanthimos's BUGONIA makes Save the Green Planet look so tame. This film is about conspiracy theorists who kidnap a CEO of a company thinking they are an alien. Emily Stone, the CEO, is absolutely incredible in this film. Spoilers ahead, she is actually an alien. And even though I wasn't really a fan of that part, I mean, I would have liked a twist that she wasn't, making it stand out from Save the Green Planet. But that final shot of all the nature coming out and the empty streets had my jaw fully dropped. That wasn't even a very big spoiler for the film. I mean, you would know it if you have seen the original Save the Green Planet. This film is completely filled with insane twists and turns. The whole antifreeze scene had me so incredibly at the edge of my seat. It's such an insane film. And that dinner scene. I love how they use camera angles for foreshadowing and to show how characters are feeling. Incredible film. 2. Sinners. Yes, a great protagonist is important for a film, but when an antagonist is just as compelling, if not better, you know it's something special. Remick may be my favourite character from this film. I can't recall if you see him as a human, but I wish we saw him not as a vampire, because I really like him. It's sad that we only see him as this evil, practically possessed vampire. This film clearly tackles many issues that minorities faced during the 1920s and 1930s. Back then, the Irish weren't considered white either, which you can clearly see the discrimination on both ends. It felt like the antagonist and the protagonist could relate to one another in some way or another, and I haven't seen that in many films this year. But Don, I love you. Number 1, I swear. Ironic how this film comes right after Sinners. I think it was for Sinners guy at the BAFTAs anyway. I can't remember, I was looking it up again. I don't like covering controversy or gossip, but people who are getting mad at what happened at the BAFTAs, I think need to grow up and learn more about Tourette's. I mean, it's really quite sad and honestly quite pathetic. The people complaining, have you even watched the film? I believe that I Swear is the most touching and the most heartwarming film of 2025, and I highly recommend going in blind. That 100% on Rotten Tomatoes is so deserved. I love Tommy so much. I don't know why I'm bringing that up at the end. I just love Tommy. I love how we use camera angles for foreshadowing to show how, and